All right. Um, I'm going to be working on character movement today. I am going to be walking back and forth like a psycho. You're just going to have to get used to it. Yeah, let's get into this stuff. What are we doing today, boys? Boys, we are doing more tactics. Now, yes, I do have the hexagon game. It is still in existence. Yesterday, something interesting happened yesterday. So, well, it was after. This is why I stream this stuff. Because otherwise, some of these thoughts that I come across in my mind would never have happened. Because I got to have somebody talk about this, and I'm not working in a... It's not like I'm working at gamedev.com place. You know, I'm home alone, so to speak. But the thought that I had was... I was talking to Obsidian. He was telling me, you need to add a bus for music and sound effects. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like, yeah, you can apply effects to each bus and then chain things together. Character. Oh, maybe if I spelled things right. It might help if I spell it right. Maybe people wouldn't think so. So that's the notification that went out to everybody. Great. Charcter. But speaking of the hexagon game, one of the effects that I would like to achieve with it is actually now easier to approach because of these filters in themselves. Eventually, what I'd like to have for the music is individual tracks running through. And when I'm trying to achieve the effect of like, you're doing really good right now, things like having that high pass filter and that low pass filter and limiter and all that kind of stuff, distortion, who knows what else, to be able to apply those effects to the music based on what's happening on the screen. Tremendous. Great. Excited. Speaking of, let's just try a high pass filter and see what we get. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we'd like to see. Yeah, so so today we're going to try and work on some character movement. I think what I'll do initially is we'll just set things up so that we there we go. We'll set things up so that the character is here, and then it essentially just picks a random point to navigate to. But all we really need to do is just set it up so that it scales its height as it needs to. So now what we really should be doing, because now we're kind of getting into the space of the game part of the game, the playable part of the game. So we got to start getting our structures and everything worked out. Sorry, just kind of exploring some things here. So, here's what we had going. Right. So we're just testing some of our systems. So what we're going to do right now is I'm actually just going to delete this node. Whoop. So we're getting rid of that. We're back to what we had a few weeks ago, or a week ago, which is just our characters just in a random spot on the scene. What we should do too is fix the floating part of the character. We have an offset for Y. Let's just keep bringing it down until they're in the ground. So it looks like 36 will get them right where we need them. Okay. So now, yeah, maybe a little bit higher. So we have the camera. We've got the grid map is going to be the quote unquote level. And then we've got this code here. Rinaldi, how's it going? Howdy. I was just talking to my sister. She's down in Dallas. I don't know if she's gotten back to me, though. Let me see. Oh, she's probably working right now. Okay, that's right. Oh, that's right, right. We got the camera stuff going. So let me, we got the controller plugged in? We do have the controller plugged in. This is great. Okay. So yeah, random spawning. So let's just find a spawn point when it's in a weird spot. Here we go. So this is not right. We're floating. So we're going to need to start echoing out some detailed information to figure out where it thinks we are in space. The test here that we're trying to have is the characters just randomly spawning different points. We're just trying to get an idea of is our coordinate system working where we're placing the character on the right heights of the grid map. So, and also as a result, we'll start building out some of the actual game part of the game. But yeah, today we're working on movement. So I really am going to be thinking more about the structure of the code that I'm writing, because this is actually going to be like true game code. Not just like can I code. That's what can I code is can I do this? Right, exactly. The game part of the game. There's like a dozen things that I need to work out as well. But I was saying yesterday when we were working on some of the playing music and stuff and learned about buses a bit, I had a realization. Oh, I don't even know what these buttons mute. What is this? Bypass. Oh. Solo. Oh. But these effects that you can add to the buses is something that I'm going to be using. These high pass and low pass filters, limiter, maybe even like reverb, stuff like that. I absolutely going to use in the puzzle game. Eventually, what I'd like for the puzzle game to do is have dynamic tracks where we either turn on or off certain like parts of the music, basically, and also doing these low pass, high pass filters when certain events are occurring to really like funnel vision the player on what is happening in the game. Much like Again, I'm just shamelessly ripping off Tetris Effect and how it does certain things in that. Yeah, I know. Well, so for me, it's anything. Are you doing Denaldi? I don't even know if I've asked you. What are you working on? What are you doing? Are you doing game stuff? I usually ask that for people. And then the other thing is, are you using Godot or something else? But I'm the same. It's funny because like, yeah, sound and anything so far in Godot with UI, any of the GUI stuff with control and any of that, like viewports and all that, I still don't quite have a full grasp on at all. Like the game, here it is. But if I make it big, am I going to get what I'm expecting to have happen? What if I drag on the side? What it ends up deciding to show. All this stuff I need to get a better handle on this, because this is not how I want it to behave when you resize the window, for instance, or rather, not even have you be able to do that essentially. So I need to hex grid turn-based tactics auto battler. Java Spring backend with a Dart Flutter web UI. Okay. Do you have is it up somewhere? Can I check it out? I'm on my treadmill right now. Oh, but I only started it Friday. Okay. All right. So turn-based tactics auto battler. So do you do you give your fighters instructions, or how are you imagining the combat being? It sounds interesting to me. Okay, so let's formalize this right here. So we've got this code in here, and basically all we're trying to do is build a map of heights, a height map, if you will. I've been doing concept stuff for months, but I hate JS/TS, so I've been hemming and hawing over what to use for the UI. I'm glad I went with Flutter, though. So JavaScript, TypeScript, you don't like. Way easier for me as a backend dev. Flutter. I'm not familiar with Flutter. Check it out really quick. Sorry, it opened up on the wrong tab. What the hell? Somehow I have somebody bookmarked on my It's funny because that is, in the grand scheme of things, the idea would be that you set the character's equipment and strategies between battle, and those would be applied during battle. So it's funny you mention all that, because one of the ideas I had that would be totally outside of the Final Fantasy Tactics mold, if I were to really push through on this game, maybe version 2 or whatever, I was thinking about it would be really cool to be able to do something much like Suikoden, where you, I believe, if I recall, from what I remember, you could send your, you had like hundreds of people in your party, and you could send off some into battle to gain experience and stuff. So that would be cool if you had like a group of dudes that you just like were constantly managing. You're like, it's like, it's kind of funny because it's like, I can imagine it's a bit like a football manager game, or soccer, but like European football manager game, or like the Madden football managers, which I don't think they actually make those anymore, but like a sports team managing game where you're like working out who's going to be and what, like what are the players on the field, basically, kind of thing. And it would play like a bit like that. That's kind of interesting. At least that's in my head. That's kind of like the analogy I can make for what I'm imagining. What it is you're describing. Yeah, so we're basically so we're building out a height map here, right? So we really need to start having places for the data. So the grid map is the stage. I'm uncertain right now whether or not there will be multiple grid maps. I was imagining, not quite what I'm going for, but similar in several ways. But yeah, for this, I was imagining it would be interesting because you do end up in Final Fantasy Tactics. You end up with a giant party, but the problem being that you can only level whoever you send into combat. So you get all these people sitting on the sidelines who are gaining no experience, and the game revolves around this gameplay loop of job points that you gain through combat. And you go back and you spend to increase the skills and the different abilities and jobs and roles that they're playing. But I always thought it would be nice to be able to send off your other party members on to do an auto battle somewhere else, so that they too could gain experience, and you could level them somehow when you're not playing as them, but still have the experience of like growing. Like the Final Fantasy Tactics missions that the guild can do. I don't remember that. It has been a while. There were. Was that when you went to the bar? You could get those from the guy at the bar. I think that might have been Advanced, because Advanced had those weird rules of battle. They had like win conditions, but then they also had the card system or something. Like the start of the battle, you couldn't do certain things. Like it would be like, oh, you can't. It was almost like it had like a soccer like flag system. It was weird, but it had these conditions of like you couldn't do certain things in the battle. Maybe that was it. I don't remember that, but it also might have been something they put in the PSP version. I am planning on streaming that at nights. I had to bust out my old PS3 here so that I can have stream the game. So I'm going to be able to use I have an old Elgato card that I'll be able to plug in the HDMI out onto, and then be able to actually stream the game, because I do want to play the game and really take some good notes. Okay, let me actually get some. Let me focus here. So what we need to do is build a height map. That can really be done with a Vec2 dictionary of Vec2s. I'm calling it a height map. So we have level, grid, stage. We're not going to use the term level. Stage, grid, heights. And that's going to be a dictionary. And that will be internal. I don't think we're going to need to... That's the plan. We'll see. Watch this intently. I know, this is going to be kind of a nightmare. We'll see. Why did I have these? Oh, I was messing around with I guess overall this whole thing should be called stage should be called stage. We have base game. I really need to think of a better way to do project management in here. Do you have like a rule set that you follow, Obsidian? Every game's different. I'm gonna call it stage, and we're gonna go rename this stage, I suppose. We're just gonna start moving some things around. Vaguely. Yeah, I keep trying different things. Initially, my initial setup was I had a folder called scripts, I had a folder called scenes, and I had a folder called like assets or something. But I'm finding over time that doesn't really work very well because you end up with these giant blah, 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 and you end up copying the same structure, substructure inside of those areas. So it kind of made sense to start grouping like things together and then do the idea of scenes and whatnot inside of that. Okay, so spatial.gd we're going to rename to stage. I'm going to go over to stage and fix our association here. Attach script. Oh, it knows. It just knows. See, that's why you want to do it inside the Godot IDE. Just knows. That's good. Okay. So if we're to think of this as something, if we end up only needing one grid map, which I'm still not 100% on, I did think of a scenario where we might want to have multiple grid maps. In the possibility that we do want a character to appear to enter and exit through, say, a door of something, we would need to make sure that it's on a separate grid map, the height parts of those buildings, so that our system doesn't go and say, oh, they actually need to go up to the ceiling or up to the roof to continue to traverse inside, right? That would be the easiest way based on how I'm imagining building this. But overall, this is the element that would be dynamic. We would pull in and out. Like, I'm thinking about script structure. The grid map, we would, that's what we would load in. And then, of course, whatever characters and so on need to be in the scene. So probably what's the equivalent of a node? I guess spatial is kind of the equivalent of, like, if I wanted to nest something, I guess it would be spatial. So if we put this grid map in something called here, and then we called it stage, then we could have a script on this to do some of the magic that I'm talking about. That way, when we load in and out here, we're not having to have like a bunch of grid maps that we then always need to remember to add a script to. So we can be editing the grid maps because these will be instantiated in Node is the root of all nodes. Spatial is the equivalent of node 2D. Right, okay. So that's what I'll use. And I guess as a rule, we should probably lock that. So we don't actually move that crap around. We don't want to do that. Let's just make sure initially what I'm working with here is how we want it. Yes, okay. So, oh, I added something to Nightbot. I've got a bot on here. If you ever do the up arrow, the caret for saying this, he'll reply. Let me do it. I'll do it in chat. So automatically Nightbot will just do a double this anytime someone does that. There's a timeout on it, but I thought that was funny. In fact, I think in Godot 4 they were talking about renaming spatial to Node 3D to be more consistent. That would help ease people into 3D stuff way more. At least from, if you're only coming from one side or the other, right? If you're coming from 3D and you're starting to do something in 2D that you're maybe not as much used to. You must unlearn. Okay. So this seems good. So now we'll use this area here, this spatial, for building out. I'm calling it a height map. I don't know what else to call it, but we do need something to be like, okay, character, move. We're thinking so that we're flattening this level in our minds when we're going to be telling the characters where to go with the scripting and all that, right? Where we're just thinking of it as a flat, like XY. So that way it's easy to think about where you're placing the character, but it wouldn't be XY because it would be ZY, right? So, but we're flattening with just those two dimensions. So it's two-dimensional, but it's the X and the Z axis. And so that way that's all we have to give them. And then we use the Y coordinate on the grid to go, okay, this is where they need to be. We have a call for that. So let me look at my code again. I need to refresh myself. So if we just have a call and we say the X and the Y, X and the Z position, we get the Y back. That's what we had done, right? So at least that was the plan. So let's build that out into a function. You got to refresh yourself before you wreck yourself. And I hope you work on that tonight, Obsidian, because I would love to be able to. I mean, I think for my buddy and me, not kid sister, but for my buddy and me, I think for him, if it was as simple as capital thing and then something, like, I think for him that would be the easiest because he would be able to do that at work. So something I didn't say. So I was like yesterday. I was like, I know my friends. Gee, damn it. But yeah, my buddy. He's got 2 kids. He works full time. He's got to commute to and from work. That whole thing, and then he's got to be a dad on the weekends, and he's got to be a dad at night, and there's like a 3-hour window, maybe an hour and a half at night, right? So that's what I'm looking at for the guy that I want to be able to write this and contribute to the cutscene aspect of it. But if he had something where he could be on his phone or at work and have a text document, and if somebody were to look at it, they'd be like, looks like he's working. Like, honestly, the format that we're talking about could actually be done in Excel, right? So it could be that he's working in an Excel spreadsheet, and then we just export it into the same syntax, using a macro, but it's something that he could do at work. He does good work though. He's a good guy. He does good work. I mean, he's the dude. I'm glad I pushed him in that direction too. But he's the dude who's making his job, everyone else's job, easier because he's going and he's learning SQL, and they use PeopleSoft and they do all this other stuff. But he's learning how to like basically automate stuff. He's doing what I was a lot of like. I've been kind of talking to him through some things, because that's a lot of what I was doing in my old job, and maybe that's why my brain thinks that way when I start to tackle some of this game stuff. All right, so. Let's create a script for this. Stage. Okay, so this is the stage. So what do we call? This is going to be like, I think this is just going to be. If the scene is called stage. Maybe calling the scene stage is not a good. Let's throw it in game. And let's throw this out of stage. Stage. I feel like using play verbs for plays. What's a map of play stage? I mean, there's okay. So they have some terms here. Audience. Stage directions. Okay, so there's stage directions that actually might be useful as well. Right center, left center, down left. This might be good. Audience. Wings. What to call this? What to call this? Okay. I mean, we could call it battle scene, but it's not always a battle. We'll call it okay. I mean, we could call it tactics scene. Is it redundant to call it scene? Tactics is what we could call the base thing. Because we're going to have a map. There's the tactical, and then there's the stage in it. Okay. I don't know. This is likely going to change. But we'll call it tactics. And I'm thinking of that as sort of the top level. So then, okay, so now we'll add a stage script. And this will be inside of stage. Because, for now, I don't even think so. Create. You know what? Probably should. Let's move it in there. Okay, so attach script, browse, stage. I'll put it in the stage. Okay, so now we've got stage. Let's get over to tactics. This is the stuff we're going to start ripping out here. when the character moves, it can ask the stage. Well, there's a few things in combat. It's going to be different a little bit because we're going to in combat we're absolutely going to be concerned about heights because whether or not the character can go to certain areas will be determined by the heights of things. So kind of want to get my PS3 plugged in here, but I don't want to get distracted. I got my PS3 out here, so I'll be able to play the game on stream. Okay. We'll rip this stuff out. That's gonna okay. That's where we. And then sprite transform origin. That locks the camera in. So those are two things that we're gonna need to. Okay, so then there's a camera spatial, and then transform origin, and then we tell it. We lock those two together. So let's, okay. Sorry, I'm going to be jumping around a lot right now. I'm going to be jumping around a lot. We don't need to be redundant. I mean, we could call it stage spatial. Sorry, I'm really trying to think about a lot of this because I do want to try and go in with an organized mind. So I apologize for, I'm just talking about ways that things are even structured inside of things. So that's called camera spatial. This is called stage spatial. We'll keep it the same. Okay. So on the camera spatial, we'll have a we're gonna add a script to that, and what we want to be able to do to that is so there's stage. Let's add a folder called camera. Kanish camera. Denaldi, did you play? Are you familiar? It sounds like you've played a lot. You played some Tactics back in your day, in the good old days. So for me, Tactics came out when I was in high school. What was it? 90? Was it 97 when it came out? I remember the ad for it. I believe that it was. I believe Final Fantasy VII had something like a booklet or something that teased the game, or there was a trailer or something on a disc or something. I believe Final Fantasy VII was one of the first times that I saw something about it in the booklets or the manual at the end of the manual or something, or the back of it maybe, I don't remember. Okay, so the camera spatial, the reason why I'm even tackling this right now is because I'm kind of working all of this code that I did here backwards a little bit. But we need to be able to tell the camera to, essentially we'll call it a clamp. We're going to clamp the camera to, we give it a transform, and we tell it, center yourself on that, right? Put your 0 point over that point. And that way we're clamping the camera, we're telling the camera to go to that. We'll probably tween that depending on what mode the game is in. Okay, so thinking about that, we'll need something we can ask. So we'll probably need a singleton to say what state the game is in, so that we can ask that from the camera's perspective, so it can decide how it's going to even do that. Because I believe, or there could be two different. We could have a method call that's different depending. There's some options there, but okay. So, func, and this will be a public method. Obsidian, I'm really gonna start copying your coding style. Do you have a template that you start with? Because I notice you use a lot of heavy use of comments to separate your like your declarations and your like private methods and all that. Could actually just go to your Git and just look at some of your stuff. I'm gonna go to Fantasy Fleet. Have you saved the default I just block it out where the big ideas are. So you don't have like a so you have all this on readies, signals, override methods, private methods, all this. So what I'll do, because I like that thinking, is I believe we can create, when we're creating a new script, like if we go attach a script, template. Let me look up really quick. There's a way to make your own templates real quickly. So I'll make an obsidian black. I assume that's what the BLK stands for. I don't actually know. But we'll make an obsidian BLK standard issue Godot template. Let's see. Creating script templates. Here we go. Black. Gotcha. All right. Base templates. Okay, so where do we put these? In Windows, we put them in. Oh gosh, you actually have to put them in. Holy smokes. I would not expect that. That needs to be better. All right. So we put it in here, and it's a GD file. So it's a GD script file. Okay, so we're going to create a new one. New text doc obsidian blk .gd. All right, and then let's open this up. It doesn't look like I got it right. Oh, come on, Windows. Don't do this to me. How do I change the file type? Come on, I didn't want it to be a text document. You know what I meant when I put the dot in there, you son of a biscuit. Don't do that. I don't want to have to. How do I change the file type? Ah! Show more options. So stupid. Don't be stupid, Windows. Bro, you know what I mean. Why are you doing this? So, okay, hang on. So file, new. Is it because I chose text document? I can't just make a new file and give it a type? Nah! Right-click the folder. View. No. You're saying show extensions. Is it in properties? Customize. Oh god, it's been so long. I'm having help desk flashbacks. No. 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 I'm gonna wake up in a cold sweat or have waking. I'm gonna have like a fucking. I'm gonna have like a. Options? Show. Oh, here we go. Here we go. We're getting close. This is very I'm remembering some things. Show. There's like a hide. Hide extensions for known file types. No, thank you. Is that? There we go. There we go. Oh, we want to apply to all folders. No, go back. Every version of Windows ever does since 95 is take the options that were in Windows 95 and bury them further away. That is all. Every version of Windows has ever done. It's trying to hide the beauty. Every new release of Windows ever does is try to hide the beauty of Windows 95. That is what I'm saying. I'm not afraid to say it. for me, the pinnacle was probably 98, maybe 2000. 2000 was like, but I feel like ever since then, it's just been like, speaking of abstraction, it's just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of like getting to those original menus that you want to get to in the first place. DOS for life, man. Games should run in DOS. All right. Oh, so we made the thing, but we didn't actually edit it. Let's go back. Sorry, I got distracted, and I'm getting. This is like Inception levels of distraction here too. But I want to get my tools in order. So how do we get this over to code? Here we go. So I'm liking the multiple desktop Windows multiple desktop stuff. Kinda. I just need to get back onto Linux. Who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? That was one of the appeals of OS X, was that it was so Linux-like. At least when you open up Terminal, I was like, oh, I'm home. I know where I am. Okay. Okay, so I'll just throw those we'll go over here. We're going to steal his we'll get rid of all the other code. We're just going to steal the sections here. We'll probably add more. Yeah. Man. And I wouldn't even think if it were for Linux in the 90s, I wouldn't even think, like, what is a multiple? Like, what do you mean desktops? There's the desktop. But even in the 90s, having multiple desktops was the coolest fudging thing. And it was so quick. It's always been quick on Linux. Unless you're in Red Hat or something like that. Does Red Hat even exist still? I'll probably change its name. All right. So now if we go over here, do we have to reload for this? Let's see. We'll go create a new script. And now we should have Obsidian BLK. Booyah! Look at that. There it is. And now if we were to create this, boom. Yeah, and slow. Don't forget slow. Do not forget slow. All right, we're going to delete this one. We don't need camera. We'll delete that one. But we're actually going to steal that from Red Hat exists. It's considered an enterprise Linux distro. Teaser version is called Fedora. That's right. I'm more of a personally. I mean, for me, like if I'm running a server, even if I'm running desktop, like I do like Debian a lot. I like that for servers. I feel like it's really lean. I don't know if things have changed. Yeah, Arch is. There's Arch, but that's pretty hardcore. Figures you'd run Arch. You crazy SOB. Ubuntu. Yeah. For a while there in the 90s, I would say in the aughts, the early aughts, I was running, what was the one with the gecko or the iguana? What was it called? Fuck, I can't think. It's something with an S. It's 4-letter S. Shoot. I can't remember. But I would say for desktop environment, my preferred desktop environment is XFC. I don't know if that's still, but I'm talking about like when I was hard into Linux. Debian with XFC. I loved XFC, CE. Again, it was just because I had really bad computers. My computers had no extra memory, no nothing, so I needed whatever was going to run as light as possible. So it was Debian with the X11. I was running XFCE. That was my home, and I loved XFCE because it was so extensible. And I only later learned that it was basically lifting from the stuff that Steve Jobs had done when he was working, when he was doing stuff at whatever became OS X. Before that, Next Step. So XFCE is really borrowing heavily from the Next Step operating system. XFCE is still active. That's good to hear. It felt like it was only 5 guys when I was running it. It was like 5 guys making it happen. Okay, so function. So we're going to go private methods. So really you just, okay. I probably don't need your template, but i3wm. Wonder what that's like. Is it modular? Oh, the tiling windows. Yeah, dude, this is what I was running on the Mac for a long time. I was running a tiler. Yeah. This is probably something more like what I'll be doing when I get back into it, or if I get back into it, is absolutely a tiling manager. Because why do you need all these little pads everywhere and these bars everywhere? You don't need that. It just takes up space. All right. Okay, so public. So you just go and you just get real loud about it. Public methods. I'm here. And we're going to have a func called clamp 2. And we're going to return a void. Nothing. We'll be loud. We're going to be loud like Obsidian. We return nothing. All right. I feel good about that. And then we're going to take a transform. And transform is a vec3, right? No. Transform origin is. So we'll do vector 3, clamp 2, location we'll call it, and it'll be a vector 3, and then will be self transform origin equals. We could do some tests on it too, and we could tween it, but for now we're not going to, right? So self. And then whatever we passed. Okay. So that means that this now could become tactics. This whole thing here could say now camera spatial dot clamp to this transform. Okay. And eventually, yeah. Okay. So see if we're okay. Get use cells on null instance. Oh, because I've already started moving things. It's like, what are you talking about, bro? On stage? Grid map get use spells. Because we're not inside on null instance. So let's build this out more. So we threw grid map into a spatial. So that's why that's happening. But all this is going to move anyways. Get sell items. So the same thing again. We're using grid map again down there. All this is going to move. Right. Okay. So we're still clamping to a location. Yes. Okay. So now let's set it up so we can just ask the game. Transform spawn position. Okay. We'll start ripping this stuff out. Put it in stage. I don't quite know where yet. And I don't quite know what it's going to be called. Get these are the bounds of the stage. So we'll build those out on ready. And you even do the void on ready because you're crazy. Girl, you're crazy. Do you have like a... Like maybe what I should do is put this into... There's probably something in Xcode, for instance, that I could just shortcut some comment code. Is there something here just to make a comment? This is one thing that OS X has that Windows doesn't, and that is that you can search inside any menu to look for the appearance of a word. I know. No, I think it's a habit that you have to build. I think that it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to declare what you're going to return so that you're thinking about what you're going to return. I think it's a good idea when you're receiving parameters in a function to say what type you're expecting to get. And I would think for every single variable, if I could turn on in GDScript like strict typing, is that the word strictly typed? Like where every variable is declarative, like I have to say this is the kind of variable I want this to be. That's what I would do. Oh, but what I was saying is comments. Show all commands. Comments. Add line comment. So it didn't do anything. Control K. Didn't do anything. Waiting for second key. Key binding is Control K, then Control C? Is that... Are they serious? No. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's an easy way to set up, like, I want a comment block. There's got to be an easy way to set up a comment block in VS Code, right? You obviously don't have to use type. Obsidian says, yes, it's strict typing. Only in 3.x that strict typing is only sort of. Yeah, there's ways to cheat it. I find so many bugs caused by weak and dynamic typing. I get why some languages have it, but I'll never allow weak typing given the choice. Yeah. It's just too dangerous. Because, well, yeah. It's just like you need to have something to like, you know, they talk about like there's a big thing about you need to have like you know, test-driven development and the idea of all these checks that you would do and write unit tests and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like the most basic unit test you could have is types. like that's in the code. A type check. You know what I mean? Okay, so sorry, I know that I'm just sitting here, but I really okay. Let me just look it up. I'm gonna look it up. So VS Code comment. How to comment. On Windows T, it's Control /. Okay, that's not. Can I comment out code? You can comment out code. Toggling block comments. Here we go. Comment out code, uncomment code. Changing the comment key bindings. I don't care about that. I want to change what the comment looks like. Windows Shift Alt A to toggle a comment block. No, we don't want to do that. Execute a shortcut that corresponds. Comment out code. Lame. Okay. I'm sure there's an extension that'll do it. All right. I'm just going to do the lazy Schultz method. Override methods. There's the Schultz instead of the BLK. It's the Obsidian BLK. The Schultz. All right. Now we're gonna need to. Oh, 2 R's. You are correct, sir. Thank you. Exodrifter, how you doing? I didn't realize how many games you had on Oh, okay, hurt. Okay. I'm just being goofy. I didn't realize how many games you have on itch. You have a ton of games on itch. So min and max bounds. So these should be public, which we did have. Bar. Well, they won't be public. Min bounds. Bar max bounds. And we're gonna go and say vector 3s for that. Up, ha, ha-cha. And then we're going to do a big rename here. Just go like this and replace it with this. And go whoop, 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 whoop. Now, here's a question. How do I do a search for a rename and only have exactly that match, I wonder. I wonder as I wander. And then we'll do the same thing for max bounds. Max headroom. We'll go down and replace, and replace, and replace, and replace. Okay. So, doing good. Doing okay right now. Yeah, most of them are crap, the ones I made, I mean. Because at one point, I tried to do that 1 game a month challenge. I've never even heard of that. Match full word. Let's do. Let's see. Replace all. Match whole word. There it is. There it is. So now if we do like this, it should not find any if we have that. Ah. There we go. Thank you. And these are private variables. Variables. Okay. I think that's a good idea to have some sort of like deadline when you're making a game for sure though. So, and I don't, they might be crap, but I mean, I presume you would say that you learned a lot, right? Okay, so since we're this is happening inside of stage, we don't need to do that. We'll go straight to our grid map. And I guess we could check to see if the grid map exists and then return an error if it doesn't. And it almost needs to be a hard error if it doesn't. It can be good and bad. It seemed like you were collaborating with people though too, which is good. I'm gonna get rid of spawn position. Random position we also... So these are the things that we need to be able to start asking for. We have our min and max bounds. So this can start happening on the character side. I learned a few things, yeah, but I wouldn't really recommend it. I didn't find it that useful. Were you doing stuff primarily, what engine were you doing it in? That's cool. Are you working on I forget, are you working on something right now? And if I look weird, it's because I'm on a treadmill. That's what's going on. I'm walking at a pace of 1 mile an hour. Oh my gosh. I don't know what it's doing. I've rocked in 1.15 miles. Java and Unity. Java games. What are you a game developer in the 90s? Are you making web games? You're making web games in the 90s? Java? I'm kidding. I'm making an inventory management game in Godot with Rust. Rust in Godot? Hot dog. Oh, it was 10 years ago. Okay. All right. It's a little more forgivable. Java's totally portable. But it really isn't. I wonder if that's still true. Not hot dogs. It's Rust. Okay. So we've built out our max bounds. So I'll leave a comment here. Build bounds. Okay. I like the idea that you could make like idea blocks. I don't know how else to describe it, but that if you write a comment, that you would write the bounding area that that comment is talking about. I don't know how that would work. I mean, I am a Haskell developer by day. Holy. What? Yeah, you're in what? I agree. I'll do like I have like yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so this is all to pick a random position for our character. So we're going to rip that out. So basically all we've done here is on what we're calling our stage, we've created our min and max bounds. And all this really is the rectangular space. Well, no. It is the bounds at which the max height and the max so the max z and the min z, as well as the min and max x and y positions exist within that grid map. So that's something that we can ask it now, right? So we have our sprite 3D, which right now we can call our character. And in here, I just ruthlessly ripped out a bunch of code from Obsidian, which I'm actually just going to delete all of it because right now I'm not going to be thinking about any of that. I'm going to start fresh with some of my thinking here, but I will be revisiting his code because he's got a really good way of doing something that I'm going to need later on, which is to determine the facing direction of the character and the direction, like providing information to my animation system to say, okay, the camera is here, the character is facing here, show this side of the character in sprite form. Yeah. It would be nice to have a function which enforces the bounds. I wrote something like that for my game instead of having 4 if statements. Yeah. Yeah, I actually wrote that too. I wrote something like that in a tile map that I had. It wouldn't allow you. I was overriding the set tile command function. Was overriding that so that you couldn't draw outside of a certain boundary. 6 if statements. Yep. There's just no way around it. Because we're dealing with mins and maxes for 3 coordinates. So 3 times 2. We're just checking those. But it works. So okay, so here for now on our sprite, we're just going to then use the information that we can get from the stage, and I don't know. Do we call it? I mean, we could call this camera gimbal instead of camera spatial, because then the camera's inside of that. And then we could just call this stage. Let's do that. See, I'm thinking about things. I'm trying to think about things, so I'm gonna call it game camera. Game camera. All right. I don't want to distract you. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't know who's coming and going into the stream. It's freaking me out. You too. It's freaking me out. I didn't realize how many people come and go to your own stream. I shouldn't know this. I'm going to turn it off. I feel like there's a skit. There's an old Onion video where they have real-time feedback from the audience on what people's opinions are and whether they like them or not. And they slowly start to change their opinion, like, and it gets more extreme. That's the funny part, too. It's basically what things have become. Okay, so I think I might call it camera gimbal. I do like the game camera. Generic enough and distinct from the built-in. So you mean for the camera itself or for the spatial scene? We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so we have stage max bounds, right? So maybe we do need to be able to get this outside of. So maybe it shouldn't be private. We could ask. We could create a method where we ask. We could have gets for each of the axes. Yeah, I think I might call it gimbal. Because I already started messing up trying to change the wrong transforms. I feel like if it's called gimbal, I might not forget that. I almost want to call this the crane. Because essentially what we've recreated is, like in film, you'd have the thing that the crane would pivot around, and then you would have the camera up on like an arm. So we've kind of basically created that behavior. Okay. Okay, so then we're doing something here where. So this is where we need to get some sort of getter. So for height in range. Is a random position. Why are we doing a for loop? Okay, so this is something we're going to want to be able to ask the stage. So we have camera, but we're going to call it camera gimbal. I'll rename it. So here, and I feel like maybe this is something I could build ahead of time. But because basically this is building that thing that I'm calling a height map. So if we had, because we don't even really necessarily need these bounds. I was only doing this as a test for, I mean, it would always be a good idea to check to see if we're out of the bounds of the, just to prevent the possibility of something like flying off the scene. But really, the main thing that I really care about here is, it's funny because all I've done so far, all I'm doing is refactoring code I've already written. But we're getting there. But the point being that, you know, we're just throwing things on. It's that's why you call it spaghetti, man. when you're first getting going, at least this is the way I do it. When I'm first getting going, I'm like, can I do this? And I throw the spaghetti on the wall, and if it sticks, I go, okay, now I got to make this not be spaghetti. Okay. Sorry, I'm visualizing some possible data structures here in my head. But so what we could have. So this is good for testing our bounds, knowing what our bounds are. Probably going to keep this internal. Probably don't need to do it this way. Because we could create a function to give ourselves a random position. Right? From the board, if that's really something we need. But right now we're just using it for testing. All right, thanks, Obsidian. Good luck. If you guys want to see some really cool netcode, do I have shout out set up on here? Shout out Obsidian be okay. That's a lowercase be okay. Did it do it? Yeah. So check out his channel. He's doing some really cool stuff with netcode right now in Godot. And it's got what? He's making a multiplayer twin stick shooter. And he's already got some really cool ideas and mechanics on it. Speaking of gimbals, he's got your gun is on a gimbal of a floating character thing. So if you could imagine a twin stick shooter where it feels like you're in asteroids. That's what we're talking about. And it's like he's using lighting and all kinds of stuff in a really cool way. And I'm really excited to see where it's heading. So definitely, I don't care if you leave my stream and go start watching him if he starts streaming soon. That's fine. I'm not going to be mad. Go where your heart takes you. Okay. By the way, I don't think I'm getting notifications when people are following, so I need to be paying better attention to that. I don't know how to messages one. Hello. Why is this here? Ban mod. I don't want to mod. How do I get rid of this? Sorry. I can't even see my Twitch activity feed right now. What if I close the dock and reopen it? Maybe that'll help me. No. You got to be kidding me. Come on, OBS. I can't get this. Hang on, I got to bring this over to this screen because I literally can't. How do I close this? Okay, here we go. There we go. All right. So now I'll know if somebody's followed me or not. Okay. Sorry. All right. So what am I trying to do? So if we were to get a random position from our bounds of the stage, what we need to know. So if we're telling the character you need to move from here to here, and we're only giving it the X and the Z, it's going to ask the stage, okay, I have these two coordinates, X and Z. What's our height? That's all I need to be able to do, right? So let's do that. So how do we? Trying to think of how are we going to think of this when we're actually playing the game? Because I'm worried about translating, like, because I could do it with a vec2, but a vec2 represents an X and a Y. And I worry about that confusing us. So we could have a function called getHeight. And all that would do is essentially go here and drill down, right? But why don't we just build a map of our heights? We could call it a height map, if you will. So let's do that. Let's see. Give me a second here. I'm gonna rewind a bit. Oh, I don't want to do that. You know what? I just won't save it. Go back to the character code, which is in Sprite 3D. Yeah, there it is. Heights in range. Where height in range? Okay, so min bounds y. So it would be a dictionary. So if we have our stage, we don't need to use stage. We are stage. Height map, I suppose we could call it. And we're going to be a dictionary. And now I'm going to look this up because it feels like it could be a reserved word in Godot. We'll go over and check the docs really quick. Just for the word height map. Height map shape. Okay. We could call it heights. And so basically, we know our x and our z bounds, so we can just iterate on those and then figure out our y height and then build that out into the dictionary. So we're doing some of that here. Right now we've got random position x and random position y. And then we're drilling down for heights. So, and we're coming down. From Are we really going up? Okay, so we're going to need to do 2 for loops here. So we'll count up from min bounds. So for I don't know, we'll call it XL in min bounds X. And no, because it needs to be a range. So range of our min and max on the X and the Y. So min Y and then max Y. So we're traveling between those ranges. We're going to do this again, and we're calling this, it's a Y cell for this one. And then we'll do the same thing, but for the X cell. Okay, so now we're going to traverse our X and our Y. And let's nest this. Okay, and then in that we drill more to find our what are we complaining about? Mixes tabs with spaces. What are you talking about? Where? Why is it acting like it's spaces? I never use spaces. What are you talking about? Mix tabs and spaces and indentation. What? Okay. Yeah, I see them. Why are we getting spaces all of a sudden? What happened to my tabbing? I swear this never happens to me. What the heck? Did I accidentally hit a hotkey for something? Settings, tab. Why is my tabbing all of a sudden? I can't believe this. Hey, but this never happens. What? Okay. I turned this on. Let's look this up. VS Code. Use tabs. Indented. Bro, what is going on? Enables tab completions. On. Is that what we're talking about? I don't know what anything's called. No. Okay. Come on. This is awful. VS Code. Settings. Anyone know how to fix this? Tab. Well, indentation. Indent. What are we looking for? Controls whether editor tab size or insert spaces will automatically be detected when a file is open based on the file contents. Detect indentation. How do I force? Insert spacings. No! How did this happen? Okay, that should fix it. There we go. So now all these are broken. I don't know why that. I don't know how the heck that happened. See, that would just. If you were like 12 years old and you wanted to learn how to code, and you ran into a problem like that, that would be it. See ya. If you were poor like I was and you're trying to get into this kind of thing, that would have been game over for a while. And like, I don't know. I was doing stuff and now I can't. Now what are we complaining about? There we go. This is what we want to see. Man bounds. It's max bounds, bro. Man max height. Okay. Now we're finally cooking. That was annoying. So for each X and Y, we then are going to test and find our heights. And is it Y? No. Each X and Z. My bad. So we're iterating through our X and Z axes. And let's just make sure we got our numbers right. So I'm going to comment this stuff out for now. And what we'll do is we'll just print out what we get. So we'll do a vector 3. And a vector 3 includes an X, a Y, and a Z. There we go. And let's see what we get. What is going on? It's acting like I haven't ever used. Okay, give me a second. Get rid of this. We don't need any of this. Boop. Okay. We're almost. It's funny. We're ripping out all the original code that we had. Yeah, that's because it's private. This is all gonna move, so no worries. Index null instance. X bounds null instance. Is it because of the order of the scene? Fine. Let's get rid of all of it. Oh, well, we've got what we want here. So, yeah. So, okay, so we're counting down instead of up. We do have negative numbers, but that makes sense. So, That makes sense because of how we build a stage out. So now we iterate on height based on our min and max bounds of y. That's what's happening here. Then we go and we test the cell. And now here's what we do. And we don't need, since we're already on the root here, we don't need spaces before tabs again. What are we talking about? Bro. Oh, you're plugging me on your stream. We're both plugging each other's holes, baby. Oh, man. Hello. Am I on your stream right now? Hi, everybody. My name's Matt. I like to program. I hope you're doing good. All right. I'm rewriting code I wrote very quickly, and I'm paying the price now. Okay, why do we have... Oh, we don't need random position. We know our positions now. So now we're using the X and the Z axes, the X and the Z's that we're iterating through here. And then, so once we detect that the cell is not an invalid cell item, we're going to add that to our little heights map thing that we're building here. Okay. So then we just say heights, and then we are going to set vector 3 key with this here. Wait a minute. What could it be? Could it be just the X and the Z? Should be. It should be just the X and the Z. So can we do like comma separated values in a key? Let's see. No, doesn't like that. Doesn't like that at all. It says no, sir. See, I want to throw it in a vec too, but I know that's a bad idea. An array. See, if we did an array, and we did the X and the Z cells, like shoe, and then we set our height value here. There we go. So now, if we were to print out heights after all this is said and done, we should have a representation of something valuable. Mayhaps. Let's see. Blah. Oh, we need to have a pass statement on here. I'm coming to you. Give me a second. I'll write you here in a second, buddy. Let's calm down. All right. So now we could theoretically ask for where are they all 0? That's not right. What are we erring out about too? Oh, okay. So we don't need. Wait, what? Tactics. That's all happening here now. We'll just rip this out. We don't need any of this anymore. Okay. Rip all this out. Block. There we go. Whoop. Oh, treadmill stop. Does that mean I went for... It's telling me I have to rest. Does that mean I went for 3 miles? No way. Have I been streaming that long? No. I hate how it just doesn't tell me how long I went for. I'll have to look up the manual to see how long it goes when it auto stops. But yeah, burning some calories while we program. Why not? Why not? Okay, so let's look at what we're signing height with. cell. Or height. Why are they all zeros? If cell does not equal... Let's print out height while this is happening. We're going down. Something's broken. Something strange. Bada-bada-boo. Who you gotta call? So as soon as the cell does not equal that, we are setting the height value. So why don't we just print in between all this? Height. Found floor. Okay, so if they're all at 0, then something ain't right. Found floor, found floor, found floor, found floor, found floor, found floor, found floor. So that's 1. Oh, but we keep going. So we got to break out of this for loop. That's our problem. We're always going to find one at the bottom. So as soon as we, as soon as this happens, we need to break a for loop. That's what's messing this up. So now if we break out of that loop, there we go. Now we're getting all kinds of stuff that's looking good. And actually, let's get rid of that print statement because that's... Sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing anyways. Yeah. So now we're getting some different numbers here. So now we can ask... We could theoretically say get height. So we could have I mean, we could treat it just like a variable, right? And then do getter. And we just have a variable that's not assigned and override the getter. And then not have it be something that we're accessing or setting anything to. Or we just have a get statement. So this would be in our private methods, public. Get height. Get location. Grid height from. Get height from. We'll do that. Position. Well, we can't use that. That's reserved. From position. We'll take a vector 3. We're just going to ignore the y-axis. Oops, we don't need to do that. We're going to return nothing. No, we are going to return an integer? Maybe? No, because it could be a float. It has to be a float. The value is going to be a float. But, well, no, because... So if we return... Here's the thing. It's going to be an int, but it's coming from a vec3, which is a float. The values of all that stuff is a float. Let's look at grid map really quick on grid map And we're going to look at get cell. They do return ints. So we shall return ints as well. Return. Ooh, we always have to return something, though, if we say we're going to do an int. Well, we could return a negative number, because it should, in theory, never be less than 0. So if we return a negative number, then we'll know we got something screwed up. So if we give it a position that's not within the bounds, then we can return a -1. Sure. We'll do that. So then we just say, so then we can say, if heights has, and then we're looking for an array, and then we're gonna go and say from position X and from position Z. So for those two, if it has that, then we return the heights from that position in our dictionary from that key. Turn the value from the key. Whoa. Now, I'm wondering if we need to... oh, it's an array, We're referring to a... Well, it's not an array, but the key itself is an array. Okay, so now we can ask it for a height of a location. And this is actually going to be something we're going to be using a lot. And likely for pathing, we're going to be doing something else, which is, I'll talk about it later. But I have an idea of using a tile map to use the built-in pathing tools in tile maps. Since we can think of our grid, it's a 3D thing, but as far as like being able to offer up, what can the player navigate to? If we build, because on a tile map you can do pathing stuff. I think we can use that to then build out a plane of here are the places you can navigate to based on the heights of everything. But that's a while away. Right now we're just getting the heights. Get heights, right? So now, so now at the start of the game here, we could just, I guess we could write out that code that I was talking about for getting a random position. I did have this here to generate a random position, and so we could do that. So we don't need min and max bounds. We don't need this either. All that's going away. Okay. So maybe we do need something to just get a random position for now, because we need to test that. Get random valid position. Okay. And we're going to return vector 3. Okay. And so return again, though, with these returns, I mean, the presumption here being that there's a valid position to return. If there's no valid position to return, then we really effed up. So that's I'm not gonna start being concerned about that, because that really means we screwed up. So now we'll just reuse this code here. And all this does is it does a random range between here. It does mean that we need to randomize, which we could probably on the tactics stage here on our func ready. We could do that. And now that I've learned what I've learned from Obsidian, I don't ever want to use randomize. I always want to use the RNG tools in Godot, because then we'll be able to replay battles and stuff and fix bugs more easily. When we have, especially specifically with weird roles or in particular weird AI stuff, to be able to have that random seed, that number to work off of and replay the game and make the same choices that somebody else made and fix a bug that we see pop up, specifically, most likely in AI. Okay, so instead of saying this var here, we just hit return. So we just return that vec3, and that gives us a random x and z coordinates, and what we also need is that valid height, right? So we have our height map. So we go from heights, and we say, let's get that x, and ooh, get height from. Ooh, okay. No. Now we use our getter for this, and we say, oh, okay, hang on. We'll pass 0. Sure, we can pass 0. So now we use get height from. Raya. Bloop. And so now this should. What have I got wrong? Oh, it's returning an int. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fine. Var height. Maybe we do want, I don't know. Height equals get height from. Return a vec3. And we're going to go x. Gonna give it to you. Random z. There you go. Okay, so now let's try getting a random valid position. At the start here, we'll go boop, get random valid position. Now this needs to come from stage. And we'll just print her out. See what we get. Okay, so I know this seems like a lot of like, what is he doing? The title of this is character movement. Okay, so why are we not a whole number? First of all, what is this about? Do we need to clamp? Rand range. It should be Randy range. Yeah, baby. So we should be an integer. And then we might have to cast as a float. Is it Randy? From int to int. Is it mad because we're not isn't declared in the current? So that's Rand range. Hang on a second. Let's look that up. That's coming from that's a GD script function. Rand range. It's 2 floats. Floats. From and to. Rand range. Well, that's not going to work. Now, okay, so if it's a range, I mean, I could just round, but the problem is what there's certain numbers we'd never hit because of it needs floats, and it's going to return a float. And this is not what we want. So we are going to have to use the built-in, because I know that the random number generator can do what I need. So fine. Fine. We'll copy this pattern. Fine, we'll get some RNG in here. Why not? Set it up. Randomize. Roll the dice. Okay. So these are going to be public variable. Well, no, it should be private. This should be private as well. This RNG is not going to be public. And now we can do our Randy range. I'm feeling Randy. Right. There we go. So now we can get our Randy range. All right. Now. Oops. Let's close it. Were you guys not seeing any of that because I had the thing open? I don't know. Nobody said anything. It's because nobody's watching. Oh, God. All right. So we got our random range now. It's returning nice whole numbers. So let us continue on. Now, if we go over to Sprite 3D, now we can ask for this random position. And then we can set our character on the field in a random spot. And now we're back to everything we had before, except it's structured in a game way instead of just one giant run-on sentence, so to speak. So we're spitting everything where we need it to be. Get random val position. All right. And then we're going to set our spatial here. Self. Transform. Dot origin equals our random valid position. So in theory, we're back to everything we had before. No. On null instance. Oh, is that because we're spawning? Make insulin free, please. As someone who is slowly learning game dev, I love the explanations that you have for what you're doing. Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm being very verbose about what I'm doing. Because if I'm streaming, I figure people might as well understand what it is I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, so right now. Well, let's look at what we're. So the reason why this is happening is because we're doing it on ready, and the order of. But I'm glad you appreciate it, and I'm not some expert, but if you're finding it useful, that means I'm helping pull you up to where I am, which is good. Hang on a second. I got a picture from my wife. I got to check out. Oh my goodness, my kids are cooking. Oh, that's so cute. It's good to be alive. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna start crying. Ah, no. Okay. So the error that we're getting is that we don't even know anything about stage yet, and the reason why that's happening is because we're doing this on ready. So sprite is the first thing. The order of things getting ready is backwards from the tree. So sprite is the first thing in the scene that's ready. As I understand how Godot builds everything out. Ready fires when something has been added to the scene. So in theory, if we were to move our sprite up here, it would get rid of that error message. I got to remember to save the scene because I'm using external editor. It didn't. Null instance. Is it because we're... no. Let's just see. Okay, here's what we're going to see. We're going to comment this out. Let's see. We're going to print... We'll just print out stage and see if it's an object. Null. So we could say there's a way to delay the firing of some function until the... Because if we were to put this inside of the process step of our sprite, eventually, the first, it should show something for that sprite or for the stage. So if we run it on process, it should eventually start to spit out. Let me we'll just run a pass on here for now. Should spit out an object or not. Wait a minute. What is going on? Oh, we're not printing. How embarrassing. Object, no. Okay, so I'm asking... Oh, we're siblings. We're siblings. That's why. I was looking in the wrong spot. So... Right. So now I'm starting to think about where should the sprite be? So do we put it inside stage? Probably. And if we did that, then we need to ask the parent, which is our stage, to get a valid position. So var private variables var underscore parent equals get parents. So make insulin free, please. Question. Are you doing any game development currently, or are you just kind of seeing what it's like? If you are you... What are you at? What are you using this particular engine? Like, what's going on there? Okay, so now we're getting our parent, and so now we can use this method on it, in theory. And now we should be getting a random position for our character. No! Null instance. Is it on ready? Do we have to say on ready? There we go. Ah! But we're not anywhere. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's go back. We're going to go back to our old code here. Sprite 3 transform. Spawn position equals one of those. I have a rhythm game that I am struggling with, slowly making good progress in. Good dough. Oh, cool. I always loved... I'm old, as you may have noticed. Old is relative, though. But for me, like, because I was there at the beginning of the rhythm games. So Dance Dance Revolution was a big one in the arcades. I had a friend who lost like 40 pounds playing that. I'm not even joking. Better than a gym. And then at home on the PS1, it was Parappa the Rapper. That was the jam back in the day. Let us print out what random position we're creating here that we're passing over. Just make sure we're even still getting a valid number. So we are getting a random position. Self-transform origin. So let's think about this. What is our transform showing right now? So in this case, it would put us at 0, -1, 0. So let's type that in here and see where that puts our character. 0, -1. We're already 0. So that ain't right. Something about the height. The height should definitely not be -1. X, Y, Z. X gonna give it to you. So what's the, let's see here. Get height from. Heights has X and Z. And then we return heights. Let's spit out our heights at the end here. Just to see what we've built. This is the house that Matt built. Is it any good? Because we shouldn't have a negative number. Where is this negative number coming from? We did it again. We have another negative number. Ah, but see, we're getting it before this is being built. Because you'll see that the print from this statement here from our child, this sprite 3D, we'll call it the character, is happening before we generate the height map. Which is why all of a sudden we're getting a -1. Oh, which is the error that I was returning. Because it doesn't see it yet. Because it hasn't been built. I should have known when I saw that -1. This was my concern about returning an integer. So, I forget how to do this. There's a way. Okay. There is a way to have this fire after ready. Let's look at object in the docs. Because I feel like it's in here. Call deferred. Calls the method on the object during an idle time. This method supports a variable number of arguments, so parameters are passed. So I believe if we call defer, then once everything's all set up, then we'll hit an idle and then it'll fire. Fire! Set position, blah, 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 blah. So, if we say call deferred, calls a method, supports variable number of arguments. Call deferred. So how do we call a method on a parent? We go like this. We say, hacha, call deferred, like that. And then we say this, like that. And mayhaps this will do it. Is there a signal from the node that you are using that matches when you would want to run the code? No, I'm not using a signal. Not using a signal yet. Really, it's just to get to my player on a place. Call deferred parent. I suppose we could do that. So our problem is see, I don't want this to do it on the process step. Get random valid position. Thanks for the follow, Lazy Guru. How's it going? But make insulin free, please. Says, is there a signal from the node that you're using that matches when you would want to run it? I see what you're saying. Well, you know what I could do? I don't know if you can emit a signal on ready, but what I could do is make a signal here and say that the stage is ready. And then when the stage is ready, then we can just we can register to listen for the signal on the sprite. It's a good way to do it. But I just don't know that I don't know that our ready here can. I mean, let's just try it, right? So, well, let's see. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if there's an overall like, hey, I'm ready signal. But we'll go to spatial. That's a good idea. See, I don't know everything. So we have signals. Spatial. Visibility changed. So let's work up. Inherits node. What kind of signals can we get from node? Built-in. We're looking at built-in. Child entered tree. Ready. Emitted when the node is ready. Maybe we can do this. Let's okay. So what we'll do is on Sprite 3D, we'll connect to the signal ready. So parent connect. Is it just called ready? Ready. Does it return anything? It does not return anything. So on self, we'll fire we'll call it parent ready. So we'll have a function called parent ready, and we'll go func parent ready here like that. We don't need to do a call deferred anymore, so we'll just ask it for this. Let's do a breakpoint here just to make sure we hit it. We do. Okay. Is it going to work? Okay, let's look at the number we got, because we disappeared. So var position. Is position a reserved word on on 3D? Or not a reserved word, but is it a property for 3D stuff in Godot? So I don't think it is. So I could use position. I just want to put it somewhere temporarily. So position equals get random valid position. What are we mad about? Oh, we got to do it on the parent. Okay. And then we'll just we'll do a break after that to see what the value is. And then in theory we're going to set our origin to that position. Okay, so what's the value? Locals. You're not going to tell me. It must not be a local. Okay, we'll call this variable poop. Okay, so now we're very local. There's absolutely nothing. It could be possibly called poop. They're not in alphabetical order. I should be seeing a variable called poop here. Fine. I'll do a print like a savage. Okay, that's a good number. That looks like a good number to me, except once again we're -1. So ready is too soon. Emitted when the node enters a tree. So let's just do a custom. We'll just do a custom one. So we'll create a signal saying, see, I don't know. All right, we'll do it here. I mean, we should be able to emit a signal. Emit signal. We'll call it all set. And we'll add that signal to our top here. Signals, signal all set. So then we emit all set once we've got all our ducks in a row, and then we'll just rename parent all set. Now let's see if we don't have that negative number. We still got a negative number. Ah! Okay, what's going on? Let me do a print here. See, this is where when things are getting ready in Godot, weird stuff happens. So we'll print out. So that is built. And we're asking for position of 5, 3. So is it that we're asking for positions outside of the actual bounds? And it looks like that might be the case. 1, 0. So is there an equivalent of 1 and 0? I don't see it. So it's our thresholds that's not right. So this should be okay. All right. So I think ready would have been fine. But I think what's happening is it's the range that we're not right with. So if we think about, let's look at Randy range real quick. And Randy range from and to. So I'm just trying to get a random height that's within or a random position that's within the bounds of the grid map, and it returns a height that is above ground level. But it's kind of looking like right now the range that I'm pulling from is why I'm getting this negative number. If we were to print heights here when we do the getter, it is built by the time we're asking for it. So let's think about this. Let's look at this vector that we're trying to get from. Print get, and then we'll see exactly which one we're trying to pull. Ah! This is so silly. 1 and a 3. And there's 1 and 3. It should be returning 2. We should have gotten 2 back. So let's look at this. Get height from position X and Z. So let's put this getter here. And we'll say get from. Let's make sure we have the exact same number here. Oops, save. We'll reload. So Yes to the same numbers. I'm wondering if this has to do with relative positioning. Okay. So we're just... All right. So it's that negative number that we're returning. Because this has is not right. So let's print out bytes here. So we know that, okay, we're going to figure this out. We're close to it. We're close to it, boys. So, okay, so we're looking for -1, 1. Now, just to confirm that that's what it would actually be looking for, here's what the array would look like. So now we're inside the hole because, again, our height is being incorrectly returned. So, yeah, so 4, -3. So we're looking, it's looking for 4, -3. Here it is, and it should be returning 1. So our has statement is not doing what we're expecting it to do. Because if we go and we just return this, it should return the number we're looking for. So let's do it again. Yeah. Invalid get index. Oh, wait a minute. Is it because the key is an array? So we're looking for 3, 4. There it is. It should have returned 0, but instead it can't find it. Or dictionary, right? Huh. Let's look up dictionary really quick. Oh, I think I know what's going on. Has is looking for the value. Is that what it is? Returns true if the give. You know, it is the key. Ugh. What is the problem? Variance. So it takes any of the types. Can we? Is it just that I'm using an array as a key? Is that why it's mad? Because I could. I mean, I could just rewrite this really quick just to test. We'll make it a vector 2. And then we'll say the has statement here. We'll look for the vector 2. And then we'll return that from there. So now, let's see. So now we got a bunch of vec2s, and now we return a positive number, and now look at that. So I just learned something I didn't want to have to learn. Okay, well that was a very hard lesson. Apparently you can't check, and I guess it makes sense because it's like a hash, right? So what we could do is hash the array and store that as the key, right? So because hash is an integer. Arrays with equal content will always produce identical hash values. However, the reverse is not true. Returning identical hash values does not imply the arrays are equal, because different arrays can have identical hash values due to hash collisions. So that wouldn't be a good way to do it anyways. So well, that kind of sucks. I didn't really want to use a vector 2 because it implies an x and a y, even though I'm giving it an x and a z. Well, okay, so we figured that out. That was quite the thing. Now, here's the question. Can we get rid of this all set signal and use the original ready? Let's see. We'll find out. So we'll say ready, and we'll use a parent ready loop here. And yeah, it appears so. So we could use ready. Okay, so then we'll just immediately set the transform to this. Okay, so now that was a lot to do that, but we've got our character spawning in a random position. Just so you know, we do have camera rotation, although we do need to update the code apparently. So let's do that really quick since we've refactored some locations of things. It's no longer called camera spatial, it's called camera gimbal, which is a much better representation of what it is trying to do. All right. So there's a few things going on here. Let's see if the rotation's working. Yeah. Okay, so we've got camera rotation going. So we've got a character spawning. We've got it's spawning on a random point within the bounds of our grid, of our level. So now we can actually start working on the true movement stuff. The camera's rotating, and we're locking its position around that character. In Final Fantasy Tactics, you can move the camera around by rotation, but you can also say what the subject of the rotation is. And then when combat is happening and the AI is going, the camera tweens between the different characters to let you know what's happening. And it does some smart rotations based on the visibility of the subject that the enemy is attacking. Okay, so let's So what I've spent the majority of my time just trying to do this is getting the structure of this scene tree here into something more like I think it'll be when the actual game is going. So we've got our characters spawning in a random spot. Now what we're going to do is pick another random position, and we're going to say, okay, so you're here, go to this other random position, right? So we could just get another position and say, like, hey, head there. And this is where we're going to start to build in the logic in our character code, which right now is just a sprite 3D. It'll remain a sprite 3D. Yeah, this will likely be something that all characters will use, including enemies. So let's think about this. These are, we're going to do void on this. Okay. This is a override methods. These are private methods. Okay, so we'll have a value that we need to store, be accessible outside of the functions. That's, we're going to say move to, and we're saying position. And this will be a vector 3. Now here's a problem. We could do a dictionary. The problem that I'm imagining is, okay, so we have a move to position. We're setting it as a vector 3. Well, now it has a value. So if we have the game loop going and we check, hey, does move to have a position? It's always going to be true. So no matter what, our character would automatically try to go towards 0, 0, 0, which is not what we want. So another possible way to do this would be to say that it's a dictionary, and we don't call it position. We just call it move to. We'll make it a dictionary, and it has a data structure that looks like this. Or it has a structure that looks like this. Where we go, okay, the key is called position. And then we set a value in there when we want it to move somewhere. And then we null it when we're done. Right? Or we just set, we just have an array with one value and we pop it out when we're done. But then we can't be specific about types with that, right? So the other thing is to just keep it the way that we had it, and then we have another variable that we call moving, and it's a bool. And then we say, okay, we're moving or we're not. Oh, we don't need to. So we would have var and then moving, and then that would be a bool, and by default it would be false to start. Blah. I don't know. Well, you could have a function called move to. Position. I guess location is fine too. And then we're not mixing. So we could set where we're going to go and then change these values here. And then on the loop, that's when we check to see if we have a position we need to move to. And if we do, we do something about it. So I mean, I suppose checking a bool would be faster than having to dig into a dictionary every step. What if you set the positions to the current positions and move them to their new positions only when the value changes? I would probably do Boolean, but that speaks to how. No, I think that's the way to go. Let me read what you were saying before, though, for comprehension. Main cancel and free, please, says, what if you set the positions to the current positions, move to their new positions only when the value changes? When you say only when the value changes, so the verb here could be an action. It could be the tense could be happening. Moving to position. Then we say move to position, and we say where we're going to go. Moving to position, then gets set to the position. Then, so here's the thing. For right now, I don't have any pathfinding in place. Then we also set moving to true. So I'm literally going to we're just going to go at the straightest point, being a line. For now, that's how it's going to navigate. Man, I really need to get the game rolling, though, so I can go over and test it. I have my PS3 ready with a copy of the game. I just need to find a power cable for it, and then I'll be able to kind of go over to the game really quick and reference some things. I'm trying to remember how it does certain kinds of movements. I know that it kind of just picks and does right angles when it, but what if you set the positions to current positions? So we could do that with a setter, right? So if we set move to position to something, then when that gets hit, and the implication being that we could set it up where we're only really going to ever call that from the outside. The character's never going to move itself. So either the scripts for the cutscenes is going to tell the character where to move. The player with his input is going to tell the character to move, or whatever's controlling the AI is going to tell the character where to move. And so if it's always from the outside in, we could use a setter on that value that we give it. And then okay. Let's just think about how the movement's going to happen in general. We have two positions. So we need to record. We need to record where we were and where we're going. And the other thing that we have to be extremely careful about, I believe, is that our origin never turns into a non-whole number. I think that's really important. So we might want to override, for speaking of overrides and setters and all that stuff, if we override set origin, I believe there's a setter for that. That might be a good idea because then we could have mark that as last position or previous position. No, because every time we're moving, that's going to get set, so that wouldn't work anyways. Okay. The initial tween, moving to position. There's two things really that's going to be happening though. We're going to be moving towards like an endpoint. But then we have to move from block to block to get to that endpoint. So there's like a next block concept. So I guess we could start working on the pathfinding stuff because we kind of need to ask and go, okay, what's the next block we're heading towards, right? For now, what we could do is draw a straight line from where we're at to that location and find the next one. But we do want to move with right angles. We can't move at an angle. So we can't move like if you think of it like a chessboard and how a pawn can move at an angle across when it attacks. We wouldn't want to be able to do that, right? That's not how we're going to move from points to points. So, lots to think about. I know it's weird that I'm like, I am on a treadmill, if anyone's wondering. Why is this guy like leaning back and forth? Does he have a problem? I got problems. I mean, if you want to know. All right, well. It's funny because like right now I'm just running through. It's weird when you're kind of fleshing things out in your head. There's no code going on in my brain. It's not like I can see the code. Yeah, I figure if I'm gonna sit in here and stream and stuff, I might as well not take years off my life. I'm gonna Can I put us back to where we were? Here we go. What is this pixel size thing? Sorry, I'm just figuring some things out here. What does this do? Whoa! Oh! Is it? Do we want it to be 1? What happened? Whoa, bro. Okay. There's a lot I don't know. How do we determine the pixel size? Oh, no. Okay, sorry. What is going on? Why are we so high? What is going on? Okay, that's good to know. I'm going to need to look this up. Anyways, okay, so I really do need a way to grab like the next block we're moving towards and tween towards that. So we could mess around with, I was talking about using the tile map system and using its built-in pathfinding stuff to determine the order that we would move in. So it does have A star. There's A star 3D. We're not going to be using 3D, even though we're in a 3D space, Because I'm scared of 3D. That's why I'm making tactics. Oh yeah, that's how I do. That's the same. That's my exact same approach. I was just describing it earlier. It's like I just see what sticks. You know, I just take some spaghetti and throw it on the wall and go, okay, it works, but it's all bad. I know that. I'm going back and actually, when you were just coming in and watching me, that's all I was doing was unraveling some spaghetti that spaghetti code that I'd made. I would just move the X coordinate first until it matches the goal, and then the Z coordinate. Yeah, that's the only problem with that is, so in the actual game, like when the game's actually going, we're going to have, gosh, I just want to see, but what we need to do is we need to be cognizant of the actual character in the game. When we actually do the movement, we need to give them a grid that says these blocks you're allowed to move around, so that they're not like, because we might have really high walls, and in that case we don't want the character, when they're moving from one location to another, to be able to just like go up to a wall really high that you wouldn't be able to ask them to go to anyways, right? So we do need some form of pathfinding in the case of like handling that. I think your approach is really good though too. At least initially, just so I can get the code going for what it is we need to be doing. So we'll do that. We'll use your algorithm basically. And so we have this move to position. We could think of that as a block, right? So I've been using the term position, but maybe we should think of it as a cell. It's a cell in the grid map. So let's call it moving to cell. Okay. And then we'll refer to the position that we're giving it to move to as the cell. We want nice clean whole numbers because we're translating that. It's translating from the stage stuff. So we can be strict about that later, I suppose. Okay. So this is helping kind of talk this out. So once we're moving to a location, we know where we're moving to. We need to set up whatever the next block is. And we'll use your approach. So what we can do is we have our position. Which is our origin. And we go and we say, what is our neighbor from there? So in that case, we have 4 possible directions. So we have our 4 nearest neighbors. 4 neighbors. And we know where we're moving to. And we're going to tween between those blocks. Then when the tween is over, we need to then say, okay, where to next? All right, guys, we got it. This is how it's going to work. So, hey, Odie. All right, so we'll start. I don't know what to call it yet. Move to next cell. I don't know what to call it. But we're gonna go and we're gonna find the neighbor cell that we're moving to. We're gonna set up the tween. We need to use the tweener. Hopefully we can use the tweener because the new stuff in 3.5 can do callbacks. Yeah, we can tween a callback. So we'll set up a tween here. And then, but we need to make sure that we have a neighbor and all that stuff. Tween a property, and then tween the callback, which is we're gonna just loop in on ourselves. And then, but then we'll break this callback if we're at where we want to be. And in that case, we won't even. So that'll be our first check. So if our position equals the moving to sell position, then, and this is hopefully we get nice even numbers. Then we set moving to false because we're done. And we break out of everything. Else we continue here on our loop, which we'll call this on ourself. And we'll just loop around to find the next cell. Then the property we're going to tween is going to be on self as well. And we'll copy the path of origin. Follow the path of origin. Anybody watch Stargate? The TV series? Translation. Origin. Origin's a very particular thing too, isn't it? Transform origin. Copy. So this is translation. A local translation of the node. Transform origin. The origin vector, column 2, the third column. The origin vector represents translation. Okay, so that's what we want. Copy property path. So we're going to tween translation from our current location to the location that we're going to, which we still don't know yet because we need to get the next cell using the logic provided by Make Insulin Free, please. So, a few things we have to check. We actually have to check if it's a valid value in our stage. I don't think it would be possible for us to move from one angle to the other, be outside the bounds. So I don't think we actually need to check that. If we know that the position we got was somehow verified by the stage. But, so for now, what does this look like? So we say if if our transform x does not equal the moving to cell x, then we're going to head in the x direction that we need to get towards. Because x is going to give it to you. So here's another question. And you know what else we should do? We should tween a pause for a brief moment so that we can see each step happening. And there's something called, what is it called? There's like a tween interval. So we can do like a little pause. Creates and appends an interval tweener. Create delays between tween animations. So we'll have a slight delay of, we'll do 2 seconds for the movement. So each time we move to one of the new blocks, we're going to pause, move, pause, move. So, we need an if statement for this. And now how do we determine if we have two x values when we're not equal and we're trying to make ourselves equal to one or the other, but we could be coming from a negative to a positive or from a positive towards a negative. These are questions that need answers. There is direction. So there's vector 3. I'm sure there's direction 2. Direction 2. And what does it return? Normalized vector pointing to this vector. I almost want to play around with the calculator just to make sure. So if we're, say we're at negative, say we're at 3 and we're let's just do this. Direction 2. Let's see what we get. And that should be a double equals there. My bad. So parent ready. We don't need the process step. Then we say move to, and we're going to give it a random, a new random position. Now we should do a check to see if it's a different number, but for now, who cares? We're going to get rid of the tween for now. We're not hitting that up. We're not going to hit the if statement up. But what I'm keen to see is what the move direction tells us. So let's see what we get if this, and this will also test some of the initial code. Okay, so it's not, it is normalized, so it's not a whole number. But it is telling us to head in a negative number. So like a -1. Turns a normalized vector. So if we were to round it, so direction 2, and then we give a ceiling. What does that look like? And you know what? I'm gonna run it on this value. So I'm actually gonna go to a website that runs GDScript, GDScript online, and I just want to make sure that ceiling is doing what I'm expecting it to do on the value I just saw, because I'm not gonna get the same number again because it's all random. So if I were to make a vector 3 of this value, wow, and make a ceiling of it, what do we get? All zeros, baby. That's not what we want. Let's go back over here. All components rounded up. It's because we're dealing with a negative number. We could compare. Let's print the two directions. So we have our origin and we have our moving to cell, and then we have the direction to from our origin. And let's see what that looks like. So now that's a clean number. Why was the other one so bad? What the? Was that just a weird one-off? See, now we have, oh, it's because I'm still doing ceiling. So we do need to see those dirty numbers. We got to see those dirty, dirty numbers. All right. So we could take the highest of the two, or the greater of the two. But what do we do when it's negative? Let's just do that. We'll just let direction 2 be our determinant thing. So we just need something to pick the direction for us. Right? We just need something to pick the direction. Like, where are we going? So well, let's just give this a shot, because this code should actually start working very quickly here. So here's what we'll do. We'll just say we'll call var goto or direction. Okay? So we have direction, and then basically we'll just look at it and then say if direction X is greater than direction Y, then we'll head towards X. I have no idea what this is actually going to cause to have happen. Otherwise, we'll head towards Y. But see, greater than isn't a good comparison because we're looking at negative numbers as possible. So in this case, and also head to, I don't know. So else, something else. So, okay. Let's think about this. So if we know that X is greater than Y, we already know that we're not equal in one regard. So we do need to test that. We should test that. It's this direction thing that's throwing me for a loop. So if okay, we need direction. If our origin does not equal the cell that we're moving to. So if our origin X does not equal the cell that we're moving towards, X position, then we head in the direction towards it. So we say that the next, so we've got to get a whole number. Well, no, in this case, we'll just say we'll use the X direction. We need to know if it's negative or positive. At least we have to be able to test that. Because then we determine whether we're increasing, what X direction we're going. Is it negative or positive, right? So how can I test? I believe this would be a GD script thing. There is a way to test the let's see, negative. We'll just search for the word negative. Some way to test Is it modulus? Wrapped equally in positive and negative. Remainder from division. That's right. Gosh, there's a way to test if it's a negative number. Returns whether S is an infinity value. What does that mean? Log. What time is it? I gotta get going here soon. Come on. Move towards. I just keep searching. I'll look it up. We'll search the web. Godot test if number. I mean, I could just do an greater than 0 thing. But I swear, I thought there was a function to just know. So, fine. We'll do it that way. So, if direction is less than 0, then we know that's a negative number, right? I don't like that. I feel like there should be a function I can do. But, let's see. Forgive me if I'm not following perfectly. But what's the problem with moving to... work is over. Happy coding. See you later. All right. See you, man. What is the problem with moving to a negative number if the negative number is just a coordinate in the grid map? Well, I just have to know. I have to know whether I'm going up or down, right? In terms of like, is the neighbor, do I need to be going towards a positive number or a negative number in order to continue heading towards the direction I need to be going, right? So that's what I'm trying to get going here. Because I could be in the negative spaces heading towards a positive number on the x-axis. Or I could be in a positive number on the x moving towards a negative x value. So, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do. Drive safe, Donaldi. All right. So if we're a negative number, then we need to be moving... if the direction is a negative number, I believe we would need to continue to move in the negative direction. Therefore, we'll have a variable called move to direction. And it's going to be a vector 3. Okay. So in this case, our move to direction, we can start to build it out. It will be vector 3, and our x will be -1. Here's the other thing that we're forgetting about. We also need to be tweening the y coordinate that we need to be heading towards. So we have to build this thing out. So we know our x. Our x is going to be a negative number, and it's going to be, we're going to subtract it from our origin x, or add, right? So origin x, well, -1. So that's our move to X direction. So we have one of the directions we need to tween towards. Now we also need to remember that we need to tween the Y-axis so that we properly move upwards if we need to. So regardless of all of this, we always are going to be tweening moving the Y direction to another coordinate. And so we can do a test there too. It's the same kind of thing. Direction dot Y. If it's less than 0, we know it's a negative number. And although we don't need to. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is because we're moving on. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm getting it. We're getting it. And then our Y, our move to direction Y, in this case. Okay, so we need an else here. Okay. It's coming together. It's coming together in my brain. And it's funny because I'm going to run this and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. I bet. Okay. So that's that. Otherwise, we're moving towards the Y. Okay? All right. So, and then we do the same thing here. So if the if condition isn't true here for the X stuff, then we're moving towards Y. All right. So now we got that. Now, my pluses and my minuses could be wrong. I'm not sure yet. We'll find out. So now the only other thing we need to do is, so we've got our move to direction. We need to set the Y value. Oh, no. Not Y. Z. Sorry. Z. So now we set the Y. That's our height. And we just need to know move to next cell. Moving to cell. Move to next cell. Okay. The next cells. Move to direction Y equals actually, this is pretty straightforward because what we do is we set move to direction to moving to cell. Then we set the X. No, you can't do that. So then, okay, move to direction Y equals our moving to cell. No, we don't want to do the moving to cell Y. We need to test. We need to get the height of the cell that we're moving to. Okay, so let's do a break here. Let's see what we're getting for our move to direction. Because we need to ask the stage for the height value of where we're heading as well. But let's just see the number we're getting. Okay, so where are we? Let's print the origin. Where do we think we want to head towards? And what number did we create that we're going to tween towards? Let's see. Okay, we're all kinds of wrong. So we do need to keep. We do need. Oh, okay, so we'll set our origin. If we set it to origin, let's do that. Now all we're changing is yes. Yeah, baby. Okay, so we're close. So we have, look at this good clean number here. I don't know if it's showing up on stream. Yeah. So this number here, this is the next place we're going to tween towards. The only thing we have to add here is if it just so happens that the cell that we're moving towards is higher or lower, we have to tween the Y as well. So the last thing we need to do is set up a way to ask the stage, so we get height from position, right? So, boom. We have it already. We did it. Thanks, past Matt from 2.5 hours ago. So then what we're going to do is we're going to say move to direction Y will equal, and this is recursive, get height from move to direction. Is it going to like that? It wants a position. Oh, it needs to come from stage, which would be our parent in this case. So parent, get height from, move to direction. So I don't know. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so in this case, it's moving us down. Let's just make sure we get an example of it being a number other than 0. Okay. Okay. All right, guys, should we try it, see if it works? Let's do it. So we're going to set up the tween. We're going to tell it to... so this is the thing I might not have right, is the property we're actually tweening. And we'll make the move speed be 1 second. There'll be a pause of 2 seconds. And then we'll call back ourselves. I don't know if this is going to work. We'll see. Pause. I don't even know where we're moving to. Pause. We kind of need to rotate the camera. Pause. I mean, it seems to be... Pause. Pause. I just don't know where we're going. I'm kind of curious. We'll rotate the camera while this is happening. So now we're going down. So we're kind of... It looks like we're in a little bit of the wrong spot. But it does seem to be adjusting for the heights. So, is it trapped in not knowing where to go? Because that's a result of the test that I'm doing. So we are going down. Okay. So this was ultimately the end coordinate that we were headed towards, and we did see some issues with the height there. Let's speed things up a little bit. So we'll take a half second for our okay. Yeah, and I don't see, what I would need to make this a little bit better is I need a way to highlight, like for debugging and stuff, I would need to be able to call out and say highlight this spot in the on the board and everything. I don't have anything like that yet. So I have no idea which one it's trying to go to. I know it's trying to go to 1, but I don't know where. And this is this is following your really basic pattern. Well, we just fell in the ground. Okay, so we've got a little bit of troubleshooting that we need to figure out. And it might be how we're asking for the Y. But I think this is a really good spot to leave things. And it might have to do something with... At some point, we're going to turn, I bet. Yep. We're going to go up. No, we're on the outside. No, we're inside. Maybe you can make the target spot and do something like flip the X or the Y sprite. Yeah, we could also... What we could do is just clone... We could create a copy of the character at the location it's going to head to. Like instance another copy in that location so we know that's where it's heading as well. So yeah, the pathfinding's, doing it this way means that we move one way until we reach and then go the other way, which is not as natural as people would actually move granted, we're on a grid like a chessboard for this game. But I'm going to have to go. I don't know how many people are watching. I'll make a check here really quick. Only 3 people, but I'd love to raid somebody, so we'll get that going as well. We did some good coding today. Make insulin free, please. I don't know if you've given me a follow, but I'd like to see you again if possible. But I totally get it. If this was like a one and done kind of thing, you used me and abused me. But anyways, like that was an old man laugh right there. I gotta remember. Always a reminder that I'm old. So we're gonna search for Godot. Find someone to raid that's into Godot. There's only one person, man. All right, fine. Wild Jam. Someone's doing number 48. Wild Jam. That's nice. Doing something about Moon. Geeks Anonymous is who we're gonna raid. Thank you for the follow as well. And hopefully they're nice and don't have too much of a potty mouth. I guess I should leave their stream open so I can say hello. Are they already offline? No, they're live. All right, guys. Much love. Peace out. Take care of yourselves.
All white meat spicy chicken strips are
that. And I'll see you guys later. Yeah, but we got a great stopping point, and I'm going to go ahead and commit this code off stream. And really clutch right there at the end there, getting that going. So feeling good about that. So anyways, see you guys. I'll be on tomorrow. Peace.
I think is what I was trying to say.
Oh, gotcha.